At that point, we'll be about an hour, and if we have more questions, we'll just open up the floor to the audience. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So, without further ado, we're going to start with Kerri Pattee-Krosch, and she's going to tell us about herself.
Okay.
Wait, I have to set my timer.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, you can start.
At least you don't have a stop sign tonight, so.
Well, I was going to bring my cookie.
Oh, do you give us a 30-second warning or anything like
Okay,
that?
I'll give you 30
Just
seconds.
wait up.
Well, you had 6 seconds in, so.
Okay, so my name is Kerri Pattee-Krosch, and I actually live in the Horse Bend area in Medina. Probably driven by there a million times. Born and raised in Boise County, actually 4th generation, and my parents moved me away for a short period when I was in high school, and as soon as I graduated, I came back. So, not for the mountains and not flatland. So, anyhow, my whole career has been in local government, state, county, city. It wasn't what I planned when I started out, but it's how things happened in my life, and I'm actually pretty happy about it. I've enjoyed serving our communities in those capacities, and so I've learned a lot through the years. And when this election cycle came up, it wasn't necessarily on my radar to do that either. And I was approached by some people and asked to run, and got about it for a couple of days, and then decided to go ahead. So I appreciate being here tonight. I am running for the office because I do think that it's very important to our county. It's integral to our county operations. The clerk's office is kind of a hub. It touches pretty much every part of our county in some manner. And it's really important that we have a really strong and supportive clerk's office for all of our county operations. And I currently work for Boise County, so I'm just talking from experience in that regard as well. I came back to work for Boise County about a year ago. I'm very excited to be back with the county. I was able to come back because my life situation changed and I didn't need to stay where I was at and keep the insurance that I had. So that was one of the reasons why I came back. So I was city clerk for the city of Bend for over 5 years, and in that capacity, there's a lot of similarities with county clerk's duties and the city clerk's duties. In fact, I was in the time frame when the county took over the elections, but I ran the last city election in the city of Bend right before that change happened. So got that experience. It was eye-opening in that role. But again, the clerks, there's many of the same duties. So I feel like I have a good background in what the office is required to do, and my main objective is to be the best support I can be to all of our county departments and to provide the best customer service and services to our residents that I can. I think there are many improvements that can be made. I think that, more information being made more readily available to our residents, from our website to, I know people have talked about the commissioners' meetings and how they're made available, whether it's by recordings, Zoom, whatever. I have the same frustrations currently that I think all the residents have when you go to listen to the meetings, because you can't actually see anything besides the agenda. Half the time it doesn't work. And then if there are documents being presented, we can't see them. And that is very, sometimes it's really important. And I would like to have that information if I'm not able to attend meetings in person in Idaho City. And I think that our county is pretty spread out. And I think it's a service we should be providing to our residents for sure. So, I would be supportive of that and doing everything in my power to make that happen. And I think that the technology and everything's available now in such a manner that should not be an issue. We should be able to get the information out to our residents and make them more involved. I am very excited that everyone seems to be pretty engaged this election season, and I just hope that people stay engaged after the election. I'm as guilty as anyone of not staying engaged with our county government, but it is important that we do stay engaged. And anyone running for office, I put my hats off to them, because it's a big deal and it's not always easy. And so I thank my fellow candidates tonight. Thank you.
Good job. Let's see, Council Brown and Eva, thank you very much. Can you pronounce your last name for us?
Polizzi.
Polizzi? Polizzi.
The two Z's sound like pizza. It's got a T sound.
Polizzi.
My name is Eva Polizzi. I am also running for county clerk, and I live off of Highway 21. I was not born in Idaho, much to my chagrin, but now that I've had the opportunity to live all around the country, in fact, different places in the world also, but now that no one that I'm married to is in the military anymore, and we got to pick where we wanted to live, we decided to move to Boise County. So here we are, we've been here almost 10 years, we moved in 2017, and we love it. Like, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you all love it too. So I am a teacher. That has been my profession for the last 18 years. I'm an English teacher. I currently teach for an online high school, which, keep that in mind in just a few minutes. But before I started teaching, between college and graduate school, I worked as an accounting clerk. So I kind of feel that I am now in a really good position between those two experiences, between accounting and teaching, to be county clerk. And the reason I think that is because the clerk is the conduit between the legislature and the commissioners and the citizens of Boise County. In much the same way that a teacher is the conduit between the material from the legislature and her students, their students. And like Kerri was saying, we need to do better for the citizens of Boise County. The conduit is a little broken and a little murky. I think that we can have better transparency, better understanding of what the budget is actually doing, and it doesn't matter how obvious the reports are that come from the county if they aren't presented in a way that is understandable to the citizens. And so as a teacher, that's what I like to do, is make things understandable. So that's why I am running for clerk. I think that there is a lot that we can do to improve the customer service. I think that the county can come to the farther reaches of Boise County more often, come out to Garden Valley, go out to Loman and see, let you see what we are doing, let you see where your tax dollars are going, and things like that. I think we're all on the same page with customer service and the website and answering the phones, things that we just want to bring pride back to Boise County. Because I am proud to live here, and I think that we should be proud of our county government too. So I'm sure Jamie will have more questions for me, but I will pause myself here.
Great, thank you. We have to figure that out. Cancel that, we get 2 minutes. All right, okay, this is a quick question for the vote. Should ask everybody, but. Okay, my favorite quick question is, do you know this very second the balance in your checkbook?
I do not at this very second, Jamie. I just went to the gas station, so I know it's a lot more than I was before I got here.
Eva, do you know?
I honestly don't know the balance of my personal checking account, but I know the balance of my campaign checking account.
Good try. Okay, that was good. How about, do you know FY 26 budget for Boise County, total amount?
I believe it's in the order of $19 million.
Correct. It's
265. Okay.
220.
Perfect. I'm getting feedback. Can you hear it? Let's see, that's a question for you.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right in front of the
All right,
scene.
well, I'm going to start with, I know you kind of touched on it, but I'll give you another 2 minutes if you want to specifically address, Eva, why you want this job.
Sure. So I have spent the last 18 years building community in classrooms and within schools, and that's a really valuable thing. Kids need a community outside of their home. But I think that the time has come for me to focus outside of the classroom, and I would like to focus on the greater community of Boise County. And I think I know I'm well suited to that. I bring a lot of, I'm a well-rounded person. Talking about myself is not easy to do, but I would like to admit that I'm a well-rounded person. I have a lot of interests. I'm very interested in civics and government, and I want to use those skills to serve our county.
Thank you. Kerri? Same question.
Okay. I would like the position because I want to help our county government be better, and I plan on living here the rest of my life. I plan on retiring here, and so the better our county is and our county government is, the better it benefits me. And I think that I can be helpful and that I can make some improvements. I can work well with the other elected officials, and we can make improvements for everybody. I think there's been some strife between elected officials that has caused some issues with the needs of the county and the main priority being the citizens and what's best for them being overlooked. And so I think that will be improved hugely. And I have the experience and knowledge that I think I can go in and hopefully make a difference. The clerk's position is big. It's not just one thing. And it's not something one person's going to do by themselves. It takes a team, and I believe that I have the knowledge and the skills to build that team and to build on the employees that are currently employed with the clerk's office and make that team strong and improve things.
Thank you. Okay, you guys are good. Council, start. Okay, well, let's just keep expanding on that. Why do you think you're qualified?
So I think I'm qualified because I do have the 27 years in local government, and I have it from the state level, like I said, to the county, to the city. So I've worked in each of those. I've worked with a lot of different government agencies in those positions, so I know how to work across the lines with federal government and state government and local governments. So that knowledge is just a really good base for me to go into the position and not have to learn those things and be able to just start by trying to improve things rather than having to learn a lot of those things from the government level. Government's a different animal a lot of times. It just is. It's not like private sector. There's just different things. A lot of times there's unfunded mandates that come down to us, and you know, like when I was on the school board, a lot of times we didn't have a choice. You're there to make decisions, but the decisions are made for you already sometimes. So it's knowing how to work with those decisions that come down and how to, if there is any room for our choice, to make it the best for us.
Thank you. Okay, so the same question, why do you think you're qualified?
So my master's degree is in 19th century American literature. And don't worry, I'm not going to launch into a lecture on Edgar Allan Poe right now, as much as I would like to. The reason I bring that up is because I like reading hard things, much like our state legislative statutes. And I think because of that experience, I can interpret those in a knowledgeable way. And then combining that with my teaching experience to translate that to everybody, I think that puts me in a really good position. Additionally, in my current school, which is an online school, so I'm very tech savvy and can help bring Boise County into the 21st century, I am what at this school we call a teacher leader. It has various terms at different schools. This school is a teacher leader, which means I manage a team of 13 other teachers. So I have a lot of management experience. I get high marks on all of my management reviews. I have a very high-performing team who responds well to me. And putting all of those things together, because like Kerri said, the clerk's job is massive. You need to be a manager, you need to be a public servant, you need to be all of these different things, and I think all of my experience combined puts me in a good spot.
Great, thank you. Okay. Kerri, what technology experience do you have?
So my technology experience is in local government. I was with City of Boise before I came back to Boise County, so they had a lot more technology than Boise County. In fact, I was a little bit, gave me a little bit of heart palpitations when I came back, and we were still working on independent computers that were not even tied to each other, and we were sharing files on thumb drives. And these computers were, I want to say, pushing 20 years old. it was really bad. And I was so afraid we were gonna lose one of those computers and lose all of that information. And not knowing for sure if that information was backed up in the clerk's office, even though the clerk was supposed to be the recorder for our county, and all of our documents should be recorded over there and backed up. But, so thankfully we have new computers. We are actually connected to the server in Medina City, and all of our files are backed up. So we're still working on organizing and it's almost started from scratch, but working on organizing, putting those in together, and files that make sense, and naming, all of that. So, but yes, I've worked with all sorts of technology, City of Boise, I worked at the Education Center for quite some time, and so it was the Boise Watershed. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but I have a lot of technology there as well.
Okay, you can talk for 2 seconds.
Oh, no, that's okay.
How about you? Technology?
I am a Google certified teacher and an Apple certified teacher, but I am also a public school teacher, so I am very familiar with using dinosaur computers also. So I fancy myself a quick learner, even though I prefer to, in my personal life, be pretty low tech. Professionally, I can learn quickly and jump into new programs that are locally new and new programs that are new to me. I am unfamiliar with the software that we use in the clerk's office for accounting, but again, I can figure it out.
Thank you. Okay, how about you get to go first this time. What does transparency mean to you?
Transparency means to me that everybody who has a vested interest in the county can see what is going on in the county and understand it. That our meetings are public, that the budget is presented in a way that is meaningful to people, and that when people have a concern, that concern is addressed, that they are heard and they feel like their time has been well spent. Because so often it seems like, oh, it happens in cloak and daggers, and when the priest turns away, that's when all the magic happens. But this is our county government. This affects our daily lives, even more so than the people in Washington. And the people in local government work for us. And so you should be able to hold them accountable to see what they are doing, and every step should be obvious and understandable to the citizens.
Kerri, transparency to you.
So transparency to me is just making the information available and in a better manner than we are now, and so it's accessible by the public. And there are certain things that are not allowed to be accessed by the public, but that's few and far between. And honestly, all of our records, all of the documents, all of the county, it is the people's. It is all of ours. There's no reason why we can't have it. And I don't think we need to make people do records requests just to get it. Let's just make it available. And there's information now, like, it was mentioned in the budget. Just because I work for the county, I know that there's, every month there's an expenditure report that there's a detail that shows exactly by fund, what's spent, what the remaining budget is. It's already there. It should be so simple just to scan it and post it on a website. And why not? It's our information. It belongs to the public. So to me, transparency is making that, all the information available and in the easiest manner possible.
Thank you. So I'm not sure how the county is doing it now, but there's people have different responsibilities. When we were there, we had the departments update their own web pages, which facilitates getting that information out there, which wasn't that difficult, but it just takes a little learning curve. And then the other thing, the state controller's office, Brandon Wolf, I don't know if you've looked at his site, but he has Transparency Idaho, and there is a slew of Boise County data on his website. But how many people know that? How many people know that you can look up the salaries, you can look up the budgets, you can look up, it's pretty extensive, and I'm pretty sure the clerk has to turn that information in it updated as of January 1 of each year? Okay, that's it, Jamie, stop talking. All right, now we're gonna check to the audience. So, you guys, we're only talking with the clerks, so you guys can share, and I'll let the audience. Who wants to ask the first question?
Oh, I have to use that. I just want to ask.
Well, I can't hear.
Hi.
I wanted to ask Kerri, so you live in Medina area.
Yes.
So my question is, if you were to become the clerk, I'm assuming you work 5 days a week in Idaho City. Or would you be able to work out of Washington?
So actually, that's one of the biggest questions I've gotten during this election process from residents is, oh, you would have to work in the city, you're gonna drive down the city every day? Yes, I would. And I don't mind that. I'd actually rather drive over the mountain than drive to Boise. Give me those dirt roads any day. And I know they're not the smoothest always, but I have a lot less road rage on them than I do on the highway and deal with the traffic in town. So yes, I would. And there is technology now, there is some possibility for some telework, but I understand the clerk is so important for that person to be there with that team and to be the leader and ultimately the buck would stop with me, so I need to be there. I need to be that person.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Really?
Eva, I have a question about the rumors are flying, so this is a chance for you to dispel them.
Oh.
I've heard that you are Mary's picked person to succeed her, the current clerk.
Sure.
Just to clarify, yes.
I don't know about that. When I first heard about this position, I went and met with Mary because I wanted to know what this job entails, and who better to tell me than the clerk herself. So she has never said to me that I am her picked person, and after that meeting that we had on March, 6th or 7th, she's called me once because we had a little issue with some mailers, but other than that, that's all I know.
Okay, because I have issues with the lack of performance from this current clerk. I've been in the county for well over 50 years. I've known Mary's predecessors going back to the 70s. And her performance is the worst in the county as far as, I'm heading someplace,
Okay.
as far as following state code, state statutes, I should say, as far as like during budget season, instead of like if the road department gets a grant, it could be an unexpected thing and it could come in at any time of the year. Instead of taking that money, making a resolution and accepting that money in the budget before anything is expended from that, she waits until the end of the year, which in my opinion is illegal because the road department is spending that money. So they are actually illegally spending money because they haven't even accepted the money into the budget before they start spending it. So she also enjoys backing the budget meetings up to the deadlines to where the commissioners have no choice into changing anything, making changes before it goes into the newspapers, because it has to be in the newspaper a certain number of times and it has to be in there for a certain number of days. And so she backs them into corners, which are legally precarious for the commissioners, because if they see something in the budget that she presents to them that they disagree with, they end up not being able to change it. So my concern, if you are her chosen predecessor, then or successor, then I am totally against her, the way she conducts herself in the office. Those are two minor things. I've watched for years, and I'm appalled by her behavior.
Okay, so is there a question?
Yes, so are you going to continue those practices or follow the law?
Okay, well, the obvious answer for me to say is absolutely not.
Thank you.
I think I turned myself off, but I'll just keep talking. Okay, absolutely not. So, in the 42 days that I have been campaigning, I have been to over 30 city council meetings, fire taxing district meetings, 30 events. And I don't mention that to brag about how exhausting it is. I mention that because I have been hearing from every corner of the county something that sounds almost identical to what you have said. And I think that that is unfair to the citizens of Boise County, those practices. On a personal note, I am a slow thinker. When someone presents me with something, I need to chew it over for a minute. And if I were a commissioner and somebody said, here's the budget, yay or nay, what could I do? Nothing. And that's not fair to us.
Exactly.
So you can't read my note cards, but I have notes on here that say what we call in 3rd grade backwards planning. I would backwards plan so that there would be enough time to get that information to the commissioners so that they can read, learn, chew it over, and then make an informed decision for all of us. I've heard other things about her professionalism, which
Lack of.
so the trickiest thing, aside from talking about ourselves about this campaign, is trying to not talk about the other people we are running against and talk badly about the people that we are replacing. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I see a lot of room for improvement, and I see a lot of space for professionalism. And like what I said earlier about having pride in the office and having pride in Boise County, I think that all goes hand in hand. And it's the decent thing to do to conduct our like, I've heard this from the roads people, I've heard it from the fire mitigation people, all of these people who are dependent upon grants, and their money is being tied up elsewhere, and that is not fair to us. So no, whether or not I'm her pick, like, cool, I'd rather not an endorsement most of the time, but I am not her mini-me, or I do not follow in her footsteps. So we come from 2 different backgrounds.
Well, first I want to thank you both for your presentations. I think whoever of you 2 wins, we're going to be in pretty good shape. So it would be a hard pick, very hard pick. So I guess I would be asking about the current staffing for the clerk's office. How can you change it? Or should you change it? And if you can and should, how would you do so?
Whichever one. Okay, go.
So, I think that for some time now, the clerk's office unfortunately has been one of the highest turnover offices of our county. And that's unfortunate because when the clerk's not able to be there or be involved in a particular issue, we don't have that good solid foundation. I think we have some great employees. I think they don't have the support that they need to do the best job that they can do. So as far as actual changes, I'm not saying there would be changes as far as employees are concerned, but I would analyze the positions that everyone's in, what they're doing, and is it the best use of their skills and their knowledge, and then make a determination from there. And then I think it's very important to, again, provide the support that they need to do the best job that they can do. Again, the clerk is not going to do all the duties by themselves. It's impossible. And so it has to be a good team, and they don't have the support, in my opinion, now that they need, and they don't have the background. And I feel that a lot of times because they are doing their best to do the job and to provide the services to the residents and to the departments. And just for an example, with the budget, by statute, the budget worksheets were due to everybody on Monday the 4th. and they did not go out until after 5 o'clock that evening. And the person that got left to do that, as far as I could tell, was doing her best. And unfortunately, I don't think she had the support that she should have from the person that was ultimately responsible. That's my opinion.
Do you want to answer that, Julie?
I'd like to.
Okay.
My style of leadership, I believe, is the term servant leadership, where you make sure that your people are taken care of first, and they are empowered to do the jobs that they need to do. And along those same lines, it has come to my attention that there aren't one-on-one meetings and there aren't performance reviews in the clerk's office, which I don't bring that up to say like, oh, we gotta have performance reviews so we can fire the dead weight. But without a one-on-one meeting, how do you know that your people are being cared for in the way that enables them to do their jobs, and you aren't able to see how you can help them and how you can better them to do their jobs appropriately? And I don't want to say that I'm going to go in there and clean house and make personnel changes, but I think operationally the structure needs to change.
That's great. Both of you have just been fabulous. And I'm going to switch right now, and then we'll bring you back, because I know there's more questions.
One more question?
All right, one more question.
I can't resist. So, the other half, clerk, is called auditor. So, as auditor controllers, when I look at the website, I see the audit reports, and we've had the same company doing the audit reports for at least published out there 10 years. And I've heard rumor it used to be a county employee that now created a company that's doing the audit reports. But my question is, if you guys get in, why do you get in? Will you look at it and see when was the last time that contract or other contracts have been officially, bid out to make sure we're getting the best value for the dollar of the county? Because if we just keep using the same people, their rates just keep going up and there's no competitive pricing. So we need to look better at how we're getting the citizens the value for their dollars.
Not only that, but is it a true audit if the same company is reviewing your books over and over again? And in Boise County, we've had issues with funds, shall we say, and the audit. So I think the audit company needs to be reviewed, yes, and making sure that to me goes under transparency, that the audit company is also vetted and alternative.
Well as that, or also other contracts where we have the same vendor year after year after year. Because I know a lot of vendors, they get in and the prices just keep going up and they feel that they've got their foot in the door. So we just need better transparency there. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Can I answer that real quick? Sorry.
I've got one question, but I've got to leave here in a few minutes. Could I just add one more? It's just a quick one. Okay, so...
Wait. Kerri's going to answer the first question. You can't leave.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll be fast. I do agree, yes, that should be going up for request for proposals, even if it's not required by statute to be bid out or, that type of process. I will say, sometimes there is value in a company that knows your systems. And they are supposed to be held to a professional standard. They're licensed. And so I think that, I wouldn't say just because they've been doing it, they should just be gone. But I do think it should be looked at, yes, and make sure we are getting the value for our money.
No.
I know Solomon, but I live down at Schoolhouse Gulch, but I just had a question for both of you. As public servants, how would you if you were to be elected, include the public's input on the county things? So if there were issues and there was public input on it or criticism, how would you respond to that and integrate that into your work?
I forgot we're not sharing. So I think that, number one, a timely response is always important. Nothing drives me crazier than waiting and not hearing anything, and 2 weeks later. I took the time to contact somebody. I want a response. And so I think that's just a basic respect issue, and that should happen right away. If it's an issue that's for the whole county versus, let's say, me personally or my office, I think that it needs to be shared at the commissioner meetings, whatever manner, whether it's, constituent input or it's simply, information that came in. There's ways to share those concerns and those questions from the public with everybody, because more than one person probably has the same question or concern. So why not bring it up, why not talk about it? But definitely always, quick response, and again, not making people wait or ignoring them.
Yes, and answering the phones. I've also been kicking around the idea of bringing the commissioners here, maybe on a quarterly basis, doing the type of a roadshow with your local commissioner and the clerk, and coming here and having almost a town hall to say, this quarter, this is what the clerk's office and the commissioners have done. Do you have anything for us? Because 9 a.m. on a Tuesday isn't a great time for everybody, right? But like Kerri said, there are ways that we can get your feedback to the commissioners. But I'm kicking around a lot of ideas.
Thank you so much, and please don't leave. I think there's more questions. Let's just switch. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's still so there's not being a hot seat.
Thank you guys for coming. I know there's like multiple meetings. Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to start again. We're going to have the coroner candidate. Garlock is an incumbent. Thelma Medina is a new challenger, so this will be a little bit different. But either or, the election is going to happen in the primary, so we'll be electing a coroner in the primary as well as a clerk. Thelma, you want to go first? And quick introduction, you can have up to 5 minutes.
Sure, okay. Hi everyone, my name is Thelma Medina. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm 53 years old. I live in Idaho City with my husband of 23 years, Larry, and our 2 fur babies, Cole and Nugget. We have a daughter and grandchildren, but they live out of state. For over a decade, my husband and I were foster parents to 35 children, ages newborn to 17 and a half. And I'm currently the Boise County Republican Central Committee State Committee woman. I'm also a life member, treasurer of the VFW Auxiliary Post 142 in Idaho City. And I'm a parishioner and church treasurer of our St. Joseph's Chapel in Idaho City. And I'm a member of the Treasure Valley Republican Women's Group. In 1986, I was a freshman in high school, and I decided I wanted to be a nurse, so I became a candy striper just to get my foot in the door to see how it goes. And one day I saw them wheel a body into the morgue, and I became instantly fascinated. It became my life passion that I needed to be a mortician. So in my senior year of high school, I went to my guidance counselor, and they asked me, what is it that you want to do when you graduate high school? And I told her that I wanted to be a mortician. And she looked at me kind of funny, and she's like, well, I don't have any pamphlets on that career, so, because I've never really had a student ever say that to me before, so I'm going to have to get back to you. And she never got back to me. So I did my own research, and I went on to attend and graduate mortuary science school. And in mortuary science school, I also studied and worked as in embalming, funeral directing, removals from coroner's offices, hospitals, residences, nursing homes, etc. And casketing, cosmetizing, visitations, death certificates, everything. And it's been my passion for all of my life to be in the death care industry. It sounds very weird, but it really is my passion. Some things that I want to do if I'm elected as the Boise County Coroner is I want to provide timely responses to death scene calls. And I want to provide timely communication. So when I get a call saying that there's been a death, I want to be there on time. I want to be there in a reasonable amount of time, not only for myself, but for my decedent, for their family, and for co-workers. I don't want to have anybody waiting around for nothing. I want to make sure that I'm in the face of the coroner's office and that I'm there. I want to be on the calls. I want to be involved. I will take a hands-on approach, and I would love to go to schools and tell them about the death care industry and why it's very important to maybe consider a career in it. Maybe, inspire somebody to go into the death care industry. I am very hardworking, like I said. I want to do the hands-on approach. In my 4-year term, I will be the face of the coroner's office. I will be available. If there are things that the community does not like about what's going on, I will welcome that. Welcome conversation. I will talk with deputies about that as well. I will get input from everybody who's involved, so that way we can all work on what we need to do to either maintain it or fix it. I also want to attend and be the face of the coroner's office and attend events. I don't want to just sit around and just have my name there. I want to actually work and show my name, going to the community events, attending meetings. I'm very, very pro going to meetings. I do go to a lot of meetings right now, and I do attend meetings when I'm on vacation. I will be going to Vegas tomorrow morning, and I have a meeting at 9 a.m. Saturday, and I will be on that meeting. I will be on my Zoom meeting. I've done meetings in the middle of the ocean on cruises. I have no problem being involved in meetings, and just because I'm on vacation does not mean that I cannot be involved in my job. So, that's good.
All right.
I know
Go ahead.
I think it's on.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Pamela Garlock. I am the current Boise County coroner. I've been the coroner for Boise County since I was elected in 2003. Prior to that, I served as deputy coroner under the then county coroner, Larry Abbott. When I first took over office so many years ago, it was an office of a desk in the sheriff's office and a file cabinet. Basically, that's what we had. I worked with the commissioners during that time, got an office for the coroner so that we could have a secure location for our records, which is required under HIPAA because they are not public. Well, some of them are, but some of them aren't. So I did work with the commissioners, got a secured office, got a secured fax. I'm a member of the Idaho Association of County Coroners, and also a member of the International Association of County Coroners and Medical Examiners. In the association, I held president now for 2 different terms. I participated probably close to 1,700 deaths since I've been elected coroner and as deputy coroner, which are quite a few. Being a coroner is not the easiest job in the world. It doesn't end just when you leave. You need to let people know you're there for them, what they can do afterwards, if they need resources, if they can contact you to find out what those resources are, where to reach out to get them. The questions that we get asked are a lot different than anybody else, but the job doesn't end at the end of the call. I have 3 deputy coroners at this time, one in Idaho City, one over in Horseshoe Bend. Actually, I have 2 in Idaho City area. And then I have myself and a chief deputy that we respond to calls. And it would be wonderful if the coroner could go on every single call in the county, but in the time that I've been there, that's a near impossibility. Just because you don't know what's going to happen. Are you going to have 2 calls at the same time? Are you going to need to be in 2 locations? I have trained people that have been trained through the International Association of County Coroners and Medical Examiners. They've been training there. They're getting their certification through the American Board of Medical Death Examiners, which is a certification that says that they've attended the training, they know how to get death notifications, they know how to do the scene, they know what to look for when they're out there, especially in our county here. It's not just a simple trip. It's not a go to a house and do that. You've got to be able to ride horses. I mean, snowmobiles. It's all different in how you need to be able to do it. My goal, if I'm reelected, is to continue to get that training that the deputies need and to continue to be there for the county, the families of those that are deceased, I work well with the funeral homes. They are great people. Unfortunately, with families, those are usually the longest waits because they have to come from out of the county. We don't have funeral homes in Polizzi County, which I wish we did. So that alone is one of the longest waits for them. I have a strong working relationship with the county elected officials and with the sheriff's office, the Idaho State Police, the city officer in Idaho City. I have worked with them for years. We all work well together on scenes. So my whole goal, if I'm reelected again, is to continue that expertise that's there and to let people know that experience really matters in this job. It's not just something that you can wake up and say, I want to do this. I mean, like I said, I was a deputy coroner and I learned so much from being that way. But I also know that it's not something that most people want to do. And I respect anybody that wants to do that because it is a tough job.
Thank you. All right, so I guess I'm just do the same, pretty much covered it, but why do you want the coroner's job, Thelma?
Well, as I said, the death care industry has always been my passion. I love my families that I serve. I love the community that I serve. And I believe in treating the deceased with the utmost respect because I want them to be treated how I would want my family member to be treated, or my friend. I've been in this situation before, and that is one thing that is very important to me. I know that I can deliver that. I know that I can be good in the office. I am a very quick learner. What I don't know, I will learn. If I don't know, I will ask. I know that I will be working with a great group of people, and hopefully that we can draw on each other for help as needed. And it's truly been a calling for me for my entire adult life. I absolutely love the death care industry, and I need to give back to my community, and that's how I feel I can do it best.
Okay. So, why do you want to keep this job, Pam?
You know, I get asked that every time I run for re-election. And to me, being a coroner is about compassion, caring, providing for the families, knowing that their loved one is taken care of, understanding different things that need to be done, like as a law enforcement officer, a firefighter, that you ask the funeral home to bring a flag to drag that coffin or that person with it. It's the showing of respect that's required when you go on those calls. I too enjoy giving back to my community. This is one way I've been able to do it. And you know, and like I said, it's hard when you go out at 2 o'clock in the morning to tell somebody that your loved one is deceased. It's really tough. But compassion and helping the community, letting them know what there is for them out there for assisting and taking care of the loved ones. I just have that compassion, and I have, and that's why I continue to run for re-election, and I do.
Thank you. Okay, I kind of want to do some nuts and bolts, but I guess I'm not ready to do that. So I'm going to ask first, what kind of experience you have with technology and others?
Well, as far as technology, I came from the medical field, and pretty much every position I've ever had were before computers. So I know how to do when the computers go down, to do everything by hand. I dealt with a lot of different programs in different medical settings, hospitals, even the mortgage industry. So whatever I don't know, I can learn really quickly. I am a very techie person when it comes to when I'm at home, and when I'm working, it's usually always on a computer now in the age of computers. But I do know what it's like to work with just a notepad and paper when the computers go down, because that's how I started everything back in my day too.
So, okay. Pam, maybe you can just remind us on how much you really do spend with the technology.
So, in today's world, the coroner's office is automated. We work very closely with Ada County. They pay for the program that we have that tracks deaths. not all coroners use it for anything except for autopsies because Ada County has access to all of that information. And so we tend to only use it in certain times because I know from history that they do look at all of our case files, and I don't feel that that's their job to do that. Autopsy-wise, yes, so we do have that program. Being able to do it by pen and pencil is pretty much necessary when you're out in the field. I do have a laptop. County does not provide us with satellites, so we are kind of, you type it in and when you get back, you upload everything, or you do it by pen and pencil. Pretty standard. I've been around computers. I served 15 years in the Army and the supply field where I used computers that were probably outdated before I was born, but that's okay. I've been an EMT, so I had to take care of medical records that way. I worked at St. Al's in the ER department, registering people. I think technology is great. I wish that we had we're more able to use it here, out in the field especially, because it would make the job a lot easier when it comes back to getting to the office. So there are those things. That's about, all I can say, I use the technology through the county for budgeting and stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty well savvy on what's used here in the county.
So all your budgeting and your HR work, everything is part of the county's proprietary computer system, is that correct?
Our budgeting is done through the county. They send us the budget workshop information. We fill it out through, fill out through Excel and send back to them, and then they upload it. So it's kind of that way. My office is kind of unique. I'm not tied right to the county's links. I'm tied to the sheriff's office links because we share information. They have to provide me police reports, and I have to provide them a copy of my report. Kind of by statute, we share back and forth. So I'm not linked into the county as far as all of their records go. They provide me with those records.
Okay, thank you. I guess, and I don't know how this is going to go. I could ask Thelma a really quick question, like, do you know what medico-legal death investigator is?
Well, it's, from the standpoint of that, I would have to say, you do have to have specialized training for it. You cannot consider yourself a medical legal investigator. That is something that you are trained to do, you get certified in doing, and then through working through it, you get the title. It's not something you just automatically get. It's something that you earn. And so you're doing investigations for the deceased.
The way I read the statute is that is your primary role as a county coroner, is to do these death investigations. So I'm just curious, Pam, because I took the deep dive, and ProPublica has been hammering Idaho coroners for the last few years. The state legislature in 2025 changed the coroner statutes. They completely changed them, and based on an evaluation and performance office study of the 44 county coroners. So now they're going to be considering how they're going to mandate autopsies for certain situations, but that didn't come to fruition in the 26th legislature, though they thought that was coming. So how has this helped or hindered your office? I know you can't really answer that, Thelma.
Right, I'll share with you, because there'll be something she'll need to know.
This
is something that you need to know. So the OP report was done where they sent out a survey to all the county coroners, asking them all these questions on when you do an autopsy, when you do certain other things. Is your office accredited? Are you certified through the American Board of Medical? I mean, there was a whole bunch of questions. And with that said, all the coroners answered it, and they put it together, compiled it, and then they broke it up by county as to what they thought the deficiencies were. A lot of it was because unfortunately, county coroners are underfunded in the state level. They really are. As far as what we do, we are very underfunded. So we're looking at ways to try to fund the coroner's offices and get some more money so they can do more autopsies and they can do more training, which we can do now because we passed legislation that got $1 out of each death certificate that goes into a training fund just for county coroners, and it can only be used for training. So that was a good thing. But we also at that same time passed that we have to be, when elected, have to attend a certified school within the first year. And we have to have so many continuing education hours per year to maintain that. And unfortunately, we didn't get any teeth in that legislation, so that if somebody doesn't do it, there's nothing we can really do to them and say, hey, you need to do it. So we've looked at trying to get the teeth into that legislation so that they are held accountable for them with their training. But through the OPM thing, it determined that in Idaho, we are like one of the lowest percentiles of states doing autopsies. But they didn't take into account that we don't, coroners do not autopsy people that die of natural causes or whatever in the hospital after they've been there for a certain amount of time. That's not our job, that's up to the medical doctors there to determine that, it's not the coroners. Coroners only respond to deaths in the hospital, they occur within, I think, the first, I want to say, 24 or 48 hours, I can't remember, it's one of them. So they only respond to deaths then. So that's when they get to make that decision if an autopsy is done. So if a baby dies in the hospital that has been there, being treated under a doctor, we don't respond, we don't make that call. They didn't take into any consideration into any of that stuff. So in reality, when the report came out, they broke it down by county. I was fortunate, Boise County on autopsies was the highest county in the state per capita to do autopsies. And I think a lot of it has to do with how I interpret what the statute says and everything. So it was kind of tweaked, I think, when they did that. And I understand why they wanted it done, because they were looking for money, they were looking for ways to get autopsies. And some counties, they can only budget for one autopsy a year. In reality, that's not acceptable. I mean, my policy in Boise County is anybody 18 and under that is not. Is it 18 and under juvenile technically, that is not under doctor's care for a terminal injury will be autopsied. So that's where I stand.
Thanks for that. I just wanted that education because it's a pretty interesting view. Nice read that.
I was just telling Thelma I could give her that report if she wants to read it. It's public record.
Right, and it's a couple years old now. Chrome Public has done multiple articles on Idaho saying, how did we do this? But anyway, thanks for that. So let's switch it up and have the audience ask some questions. We got the two girls here.
This is for Pamela, okay, because I'm a little confused. Who is your chief deputy?
Is this on here?
It's on here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my chief deputy is Michael Johnson. He does not live in Boise County. He actually lives in Ada County. He's been my chief deputy since I took office, and he was the chief deputy before I took office. And the reason that I have him as my chief deputy is Michael Johnson is that working now?
Yeah.
Michael Johnson has a lot of credentials. He has been a U.S. Marshal. He's worked at the airport police as the chief of police. He was a deputy coroner up here before I was. He was law enforcement up here. And his credentials speak for themselves. They really do. And so that is why I have him as my chief deputy. And he also saves me a lot of money that I don't have to spend driving back and forth to Boise when I need to do a blood draw or when I need to go notify somebody of a death in Ada County. And so it's kind of a win-win situation for me with him being my chief deputy.
So, is this on? Who pays him?
The chief deputy pays for the...
Who pays him, and are you actually equal to him as coroner, or is he above you, is he a chief?
No.
No,
I don't know how this works.
Okay, so the
I'm
coroner-
asking who pays him, and what would happen if he wasn't involved?
Okay, so the chief deputy is appointed by the coroner. He is paid by the county, just like the deputy coroners are. I worked with the county several years ago. The deputy coroners and the chief deputy were paid by call, so much a call, and we worked together because kind of went against what the rules were for paying people. So they were changed over to being actual employees, and they do have a salary for the chief deputy. I don't remember exactly what it is right off the top of my head. I'm not going to get that to you. So he is paid, and then the deputies are paid when they go on coroner calls. They get paid by the hour. When they go on a coroner call, they're covered under workman's comp in the county, just like any other employee would be. They do not get medical benefits because they are part-time employees. So they don't have any medical benefits, they don't have any vacation benefits or anything like that, but they do have the workman's comp if they're injured on the job. So that's kind of how that works. So the coroner is elected, she appoints the chief deputy, and the deputy coroners. The chief deputy is typically the person that is in charge of the training of the deputy coroners, but I do that up here because he lives in Boise, so I can also do the training of them. So that's kind of how that works. Does that answer your question?
So he doesn't have to be a Boise County resident to be chief deputy?
No, you do not have to, just like any other county position, except for the elected person, they can live anywhere that they want to and be an employee.
All right, thank you. Yes, that answers.
Anyone else?
Yeah, for Thelma. Not to make you seem uncomfortable, but if there was anything in the coroner's office besides whose name is on the door that you would like to see changed, what would that be?
Well, that's kind of a tough question, only because I'll just say this. I have been campaigning in a lot of different areas, and I've talked to many, many people, and I've gotten some of the same comments from many different people. And some of the comments are timely responses, not knowing who the coroner is, and not attending meetings. And if I were coroner, I would definitely change that. I would expect to be at meetings. I will be hands-on in my 4 years as coroner, and I will provide timely communication when it's needed. That's one of the things that I've heard about, and it's not to say anything bad, but these are the comments that I'm getting from the public. And since I would be working for the public, these are the things that I would be addressing. Timely communication, following up on getting reports, making calls, whatever the case may be. If I'm called or a deputy is called, to be at that scene in a very timely manner, not making people wait unnecessarily. That's what I would do. And I would have to be in office to see exactly what's going on, and I'm not afraid to deal with it when I'm there.
Thank you.
More questions?
I have several questions, and I don't want to hog it, but first one is, Thelma, can you ride a horse?
No.
How would you get to these crazy places that Pat was talking about?
Well, that's a very good question. I was thinking that too. If I have to be there, I would try, but I would hope that I would be working with deputies who would be able to do that. And I know there's search and rescue and everything involved as well, like in rafting and the kayaking. It's involved too. So.
Another question for Thelma, because Pam's already answered about herself, is what kind of management experience do you have that would enable you to work with the current office?
Well, in regards to management, As a foster parent to 35 children, I have a lot of management experience. I've dealt with social workers, hospitals, doctors, just as a foster parent alone for 35 children. It takes a lot to be able to coordinate and get all of that done, making sure that the kids are where they need to be for counseling, doctor's appointments, visitations, whatever the case may be. In regards to my professional life, I have been, when I was working at the mortuary, one of the particular mortuaries I worked at, I was in charge of, we were the hub mortuary. We were in charge of 17 mortuaries. It was my job to get there before everybody else did, check in the decedent, make sure that all the paperwork was done by the fax machine, getting them all the paperwork done. I scheduled made sure I had all the scheduling done for the flowers, for the funeral director that was going on, for the limo drivers, for everything, for the officiant, making sure everything was done, making sure all the paperwork was done on time, making sure that the death certificates were there, the burial permits were there, making sure everything is there on time for this to happen. And by this I mean the type of disposition, whether it was burial or cremation, whatever the case may be. Everything is very time sensitive, and I was very, very accustomed to that in all of the positions I've ever held. I also worked for a mortgage company for a few years, and I was dealing with millions of dollars. And when you have loans that have to get funded by the end of the month, and you have people, jumping down your throat, get my loan funded, get this, get that, I know the importance of following up, getting that paperwork. I know how to make sure that, you're doing your job and you're doing yours. And if you're not doing it, I'm not afraid to tell you, and I'm not afraid to work with you to see how we can get that to be better.
And my last question for both of you is, in the last 6 years, have you noticed any changes in the types of deaths that you're seeing, and what have you, or what would you propose doing about dealing with those changes?
So unfortunately, I think throughout the state, the biggest things that we've noticed in deaths is drug-related, fentanyl, methamphetamines, that type of stuff is on the climb. Also, unfortunately, is suicides. A lot of times those two go hand in hand together, so there has been a big raise in those. The things I would like to see changed, and I know that law enforcement has worked with some stuff to get stricter laws on for like fentanyl and stuff. If they can prove that it's a fentanyl death via autopsy, so those type of deaths that do autopsy, that they can, if they can find out who they bought the drugs from, they can be prosecuted now, which I think is a very good first step to it. Suicide deaths are always tough. I think that the training and the advice to those needs to come from the time that they enter school through graduating school and even after that, because our biggest problem with kids today is unfortunately bullying in school. And sometimes that singles them out, especially in smaller communities where they don't have a lot of friends that you can go to. Everything is very much grown up with. I watched with my grandchildren. They were born in Boise County. They went to school in Boise County. They graduated school in Boise County, and it was always the same group of kids that hung out together. And so it's kind of starting at the beginning and letting the kids know that it's okay to be different. It's okay that not everybody likes you, and talk to them, be open about suicide, explain to them what it is, because young children don't understand. Children seem to think, like in the movies, when you do something like that, you're going to come back. They don't understand the outcome of it. So I think that's an important thing to do. I know when I have suicide deaths, I have a package that I get out to the families now that kind of, it has a package in it. It's called Seeds of Hope, I think is what it's called, and there are wildflowers that they can plant in their memory. So that's something, but I think education is very, very important, and I wish there was more ways that we as coroners could get into schools and talk to kids. I mean, they fight law enforcement all the time and stuff, but it's kind of like the coroner is a bad person, I guess, is a way to put it. People don't want to meet us, and I think they're afraid for their kids to talk to us sometimes because we're going to tell them the hard truth, and that's something I think they need to know, and especially when it comes to suicide and drugs.
Okay. I know that. It's a bad thing sometimes. But I do have to agree with Pam on that. The one thing that I have seen too much of is drugs and also the suicides. One other thing that I do know in regards to the bullying is also online bullying. I do know that social media is a very big problem. I have seen that firsthand. And that's definitely one of the reasons why I want to be the face of the coroner's office. I want to get into the schools. I want them to see what it is that we do, why we do it, what can we do to prevent or at least help kids get through certain things. I know firsthand, like I said, unfortunately, I know about the bullying. You know, suicide is part of that. I've seen it myself. My daughter was one of them who unfortunately got involved with social media, and it did not go well. And you have to teach kids from a very young age, and I definitely agree with that. The importance of community, the importance of not bullying, the importance of being active in school activities. I wish there were more activities in Boise County, because unfortunately there's no kids clubs and all this other kind of stuff in Boise County. It's a low-funded county, and I do understand that. But if the coroner can get into the schools, that's one of my biggest things. I want to be involved in the community events. I want to go to the schools. I want to educate, not only for helping the students, but helping the community as well.
Okay, got a video. Okay, so now I'd like to open it back up for questions for the clerks as well, the clerk candidate as well as the coroner candidate, to get about equal time. Jamie, you can ask a question.
Okay, Kerri,
Yes.
since I've seen you at the commissioners' meetings off and on for years, I think you've seen three of the clerks, if my memory serves me well. So I think that while you've been working at Boise County, you've seen the minutes that different clerks participated in the preparation of, and you know the difference between what's happening now versus what has happened in the past, as far as the clarity and with the availability of social media, I see no reason that the minutes are not either online, because if we have to pay to get them into the Idaho World, is the current clerk's excuse for writing in code what happens in Idaho City meetings. Will you ensure that if you're elected, it will change like it used to be, where we the people could actually tell what is going on by reading the minutes?
Right, so, I'll just talk loud. I have seen several of the county clerks, and then my experience as city clerk. I feel it's very important to document in the minutes what has taken place. And we publish the condensed minutes in the Idaho World. It doesn't mean the minutes should all be done as condensed minutes. That's what's published, but, you know, minutes should reflect what was discussed. Not just only votes, and you know, that's my opinion, that's how I did it, and I did my minutes myself as city clerk, and yes, that would be one of my goals, to make sure that the minutes are done well, if I'm doing them myself, or if someone else is doing them, and that it reflects what actually takes place in the meetings.
And you would make sure that they're on.
They should be online. They should be online. Our ordinances and resolutions should all be available online. Not just the first page of the resolution that says this XYZ and this, they voted on it, and then none of the supporting documents are there. That's what tells us what it's about. So yes, I don't understand why all of that cannot be made available on our website. My understanding is the county paid for a new website, and it's been done for a couple of years, and it just has not been put into active mode. So we have it there. it's better. I think that would give us some more options, and it needs to happen. We paid for it. Before it's outdated, we should use it. But yes, regardless, whatever the website is, there's no reason why all of that information cannot be put on the website and available to the public.
Thank you. Eva, you have a comment on that?
But can I just say real quick, I really appreciate your passion. Like, it's evident, and your love for the county comes shining through. So, thank you.
So can I just add?
Yes.
And it's really for the ladies up front, whoever's in the office, I strongly advise you, stick to your guns. One of the previous meetings, they tried using the excuse, the speaker up in the wall, it's old. That doesn't apply. Coming from an IT person, that doesn't apply anymore. Everything's wireless, Bluetooth, and what you said, Eva, the meetings could be here, it could be Horseshoe Bend, it's easy. You could be at home and remote into your computer in the office, so you always have access to data. So you guys just need to stick to your guns. What she is saying, the commissioner meetings should be open, visible, and I've heard the same thing, commissioner meetings, and then they go off in executive meetings and make everyone sit there waiting. Those commissioners should handle all the public information, meetings, and let the people lead them before they do the executive meeting. All those should be online, spinning all the time. So what she's saying is 100% on. The fact that, there's no data available is hurting the citizens. So I strongly, encourage you guys, whoever gets in office, really stick to your guns and push it.
The excuse of, well, this is how we've always done it, does not work with me.
Well, and that's not true, because I've watched other clerks that have performed their job, whether I disagree with them personally on issues or not, they have performed their job so well. And this clerk is just, I am horrified by the lack of information. We have literally paid for another study on the Bank Sloman Road because she did not tell the commissioners where the information was when this clerk did the information back, this commissioner did the information back when she was commissioner, and the same clerk. So we now paid, I think, $40,000 to duplicate the information. And that's just one instance of this clerk's ineptness. Sorry.
You should have run.
You
should have run.
You guys have water?
Okay, well, and I think the minutes are really important, improvement that could happen. Because we really can't watch a Zoom, we can only look at the minutes. The newspaper is an opinion, even though it appears that it's written as verbatim. So they do listen, I think, and then they transcribe after, but sometimes the nuance isn't in the newspaper because they're not there. So it's really important, and it's a historical record. There was, there was this famous lawsuit that they waited and waited and waited to get some information, and they finally asked me, because I'm just part-time, didn't matter, could you go look? And I literally had to find out. And so those minutes are so important. I literally had to go back. They gave me gloves because it's old documents you can't touch, no oils or anything. And to find out when each fund, when the general fund, when the justice fund, when they started and what they were established for, which some of them came in the 1800s, very early on. They had to have a general fund, and they told us, this is what it's for, this is how it's established. And then that information was translated to present day on how you could spend those funds. Is it possible to use that fund for a judgment? Would it be possible to spend it? And the only way we knew is to go back and find each of those minutes And typically there was a resolution that, or an ordinance that established those funds. So it's really important because if we went back in 2010 and came up with how the original 1800s were established to spend them. So we're not finding all that information today. And it's tricky too because somebody went in and stole some of the minutes. Oh, but then they put them back. So we saw that they were missing, and then we saw that they were returned. And no one's supposed to touch them, right? So,
Ghost that they say is over there.
what's that?
It's the ghost they say is over there. Seriously.
So anyway, and that's, the record retention is extremely important, and even if it's on digital, it's not going to last forever. So, and nor is the paper going to last forever. So it's, we've already outlived some of it. It's just, it will crumble in your fingers, some of those old minutes. So anyway, it's a really important part of the job, I think. Another question I would have was, I think we've touched on it a little bit on timing, but I think there's, room to improve on the budgeting process, not just for the employees and the department heads, but for the public to be able to comment and for the timing, so we could have an opportunity to change something. If it was really glaring, and even if it wasn't really glaring, if it's obvious that, okay, we've decided as a county we're going to take over EMS, how would we do that? And that would be huge, right? So some of the county functions, and the clerk kind of touches all of them, right? And the coroner touches, and there's a lot more procedural things than probably we understand, but that I don't understand. But anyway, so I'm just concerned that, how would you improve the county budgeting process? How can we improve that?
Let me start. Go ahead. Okay. So for me, it shouldn't be just once a year when statute says you have to do X, Y, Z. There's no reason that we aren't working on it year round. And having that information out as early as possible. Obviously, you have to wait for X amount of time until, the budget years and the current year is the expenditures are to the point where you're supposed to have that in your budget worksheets. But there's no reason you can't put out worksheets earlier than that and have, that information for the department heads to be working on. And why aren't we having periodic budget meetings with the commissioner, with each department head, and just having it, staying in touch about where the budgets are, what are we seeing for next year, or, do we have 5-year plans, do we have 10-year plans? Let's do some future planning. We need to be, proactive, not reactive all the time. And there's no reason to wait till the last minute. And as a budget officer, the clerk, in my opinion, the clerk is meant to be a resource for everybody, not hold the budget hostage. Not hold it until the last minute, not hold the commissioners hostage by not getting the information out there. Now, other elected officials, they have responsibility too, though, to push for that stuff to happen and to be done, better as well, so.
Do we all get into this?
Yes.
Oh, boy. So doing the budget, I kind of understand is, I have to do it every year, and we have to reach out to the people who do it. And what Kerri said is very true. I remember back when, it was a bad time in history, when the county got sued, and we at that time had several meetings on budgets leading through that, and it was actually very beneficial because people would say, this is what I need, this is why I need it, and so they had something going into it so they understood. So the way the budget process kind of works right now, and I'm just going to tell you, as an elected official, is applying for the budget, I guess you could say. You put in a wish list of what you want. I want this for pay, I want this for my autopsies, I want this for blood draws, I want this for expenses. And you're hoping that you get that. And a lot of times you do, or I shouldn't say a lot of times, most of the time you will, but there's a lot of times you don't. Because by the time that it hits there, we've got such a short time. you have to write a justification letter and say, this is why I want to increase whatever you want to increase, and this is why I need this line item or whatever. And it doesn't work in the current way that it is now with the people we have. What Kerri says is true, the clerk should be there. We should be able to go over them and say, hey, I want to talk to you about my budget, this is why I need this stuff, this is why it's important, and explain to them before it ever hits that point where it can't be changed. And so, I agree with the budget, the county needs to
Peacock.
agree with
Oh,
that.
is it Peacock?
They agree too.
Your turn.
I can go.
You want to go?
I can pass it back to Thelma if she wants it. Yes to all of the above. And also, as soon as we get the preliminary numbers, there's no reason why we can't be creating preliminary worksheets and opening it up to public comment so that it's not this mass panic on July 1st, that we have the whole year to be thinking about what is actually needed and for having people to give input and to revise what they, because you're trying to foresee tell the future when you create a budget, and it can change in a day. So if we can plan a little bit better and start not being panicked about everything, then everybody will be able to participate better and everything will make more sense.
Your July 1st is very optimistic. It's usually in August.
I was just
They
going
have those.
random fiscal year start.
Yeah. I mean, they have it counted down to the wire. It's the day that publishing goes out is the day that they hand out the preliminary, and then they hold the hearing the day that it has
I
to
don't
be
want to
published.
look at that.
So what I'm hearing from this lady and current people that are in, that the current controller, clerk, auditor controller, that has been somehow over-empowered and takes a lot of, control over the whole county stuff, and everyone is kowtowing to this individual.
She is in charge of handing the budget to the commissioners, and they don't have time to change it because of her time frame that pushes them up against the publishing dates and the approval dates.
And that's what Eva said she wanted
Yeah.
to change.
Right.
Or she wanted to give it
Right.
to them soon enough. so
Right,
they
right,
could
right, right.
research it and
And
make
which
a
is
decision.
how it actually used to be.
So then my question is, why isn't the commissioners pushing back and telling her, since they're the hierarchy, and pushing back on that elected position?
She won't hand the papers. She literally will not. She doesn't even come in the room. She literally does not hand them the papers. They have nothing to discuss.
The balance of power needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, that's why we have these two women up here, hopefully to change the thing.
Women power.
But the only one's brave enough to run.
I guess.
Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, it's for both of the court candidates, but I'll start with Eva, and then you have a chance to say ditto.
Okay.
So, if you get elected, 30 days, Ruthie, what are 3 things you would change in that office? Or even 2.
Okay, first two is I would start answering the phone, and I'd fix that website. And then I'm gonna reserve 3 for day 1 to figure out what actually is going on in there, because I'm on the outside looking in right now, and you never know the size of a mess until you step into the room, so. But I think as far as Boise County citizens are concerned, we need someone to, everybody in this room has thought that they're gonna call a government office at 8 a.m. on Monday morning as soon as they open. And somebody needs to answer that phone when that person calls. So, phone, website, opening up communications, and then I'll see what mess I've earned myself with them.
Kerri?
So yes, we'd be sworn in January, so it's not necessarily like budgeting time. Budget's already set. We'll live with whatever the budget is that is created by the previous clerk. But I think going in, meeting with each person in the office, making a determination what duties they are in charge of, what is actually getting done. Is it getting done the way it needs to be getting done? And then making sure that those duties are being addressed, whether it's answering the phone, whether it's creating the minutes correctly, whether it's providing information to the commissioners that they need in meetings, making the information available to the public more readily as soon as we can. The IT person is under the commissioners, so it's not like we have a choice to make that person do necessarily what we want, but I can work with the other elected officials and the commissioners and say, hey, this is what we need, and I need you to help me get that accomplished with the IT person. So yes, get the information on the website, get the information out there and available, and that shouldn't be that big of a lift. That should happen almost immediately as far as starting to get that information out there and available.
Any more questions? Go ahead, with the mic.
Sure. Most of the information that I've been able to get about what's going on in the county is through the Idaho World. And every meeting it says no input, no citizen input. And I don't believe that because I know that I've written emails to these folks. So maybe that doesn't count. I've also had some conversations. And so that's one of the things where, you know, this communication is really important. And the other thing I see is there's votes for sometimes huge amounts of money, warrants and sheriff's communication equipment and all that kind of stuff. But I never see how do they come up with these numbers. And I'm not a budget person, but it just seems like, was anybody even looking at some other options, say for radios or, you know, things like that? We don't get that information. So that would be, obviously, it'd be great if it were on the website, but it would also be good if it were well communicated in the newspaper or whatever the new method will be.
So I'll just speak to your first point as far as the input or if you've sent emails or reached out to elected officials. So what's in the paper is, and whether it's Idaho World doing it from the group recordings like Jamie said, or the condensed minutes, that's for that meeting. And so when they say no input, that means there was no constituent that was there in person that day and gave input during constituent input, because they do have a set time on their agenda to allow that. So I would say in the future, if you want something included in as part of the commissioner meeting and you can't be in person, to request it. Say, I'm going to submit this email. I want this email to be presented to the commissioners during constituent input. Why can't we do that?
She won't do it.
Okay, well, it should be done. So if you request that, in my opinion, it should be done. And if the clerk won't do it, then, maybe your local commissioner, you can, talk to them and work through that. I don't think, whether it's me or Eva, I don't think it's going to be as a problem as it is now. So, and then as far as the huge amounts of money and stuff, they shouldn't be approving anything being spent that's not in the budget. And is that supposed to be planned for in advance? Yes. If it's a large amount, there are bidding requirements and dollar amounts that you have to go out for bid, there are a lot of rules and regulations. Hopefully they're following them, maybe not always, but hopefully they are. Even if it's not to that amount, any amount of money, I think, we should be looking and making sure we're shopping for the best. Now, unfortunately, sometimes there aren't any other vendors available. Repeaters, some of that kind of stuff with the sheriff's office, I think. They have spent a lot of money this last year, but that's because of some technology changes, things like that. So I'm not going to say it wasn't needed. But it's, again, one of those things that I don't know how far in advance they saw that coming, but I would like to be planning for some of those things a little further out if we can, and, including those and looking to plan for the future rather than just having to react sometimes.
So I would add that last year, FY25 budget was amended to the tune of $930,000, almost 1/20th of the budget. So it went from 19 to 20 million, 19 to 20 million. So all those changes, and some of those changes you can see that they will say sheriffs came in to amend the Justice Department 3 days after the fiscal year started. And it's just maddening that those were not anticipated expenses that shouldn't have been included in the budget. And so that sequencing has always been frustrating to watch. And then James pointed that out, it's not to the end of the year that all the resolutions are kind of bundled together to make the final amendment change. So there was 27 million sitting in the reserve funds, 27 million, so that's about 130% of the actual budget is sitting in reserves. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a reserve, but how much reserve do we need? You know, 130% of the budget, that's a lot. So, anyway, we don't, it's bothersome to watch.
How much was that lawsuit
I'm sorry.
how much was the lawsuit from the kids camp?
So as for
That put us in debt for how many years? So if you have that surplus for lawsuits, I mean, God forbid a sheriff shoots somebody that he shouldn't shoot, or something
So
like that.
there are restricted uses on those fund balances, so they're not always available. Well, we did the homework, we have the paperwork, to tell us how you can spend certain funds, what funds can be spent. But they didn't have a good handle on it during the period we were in that lawsuit to tell us, well, what do we have? And it wasn't until after all of that finally the clerk's office got in tune with the generally acceptable accounting practices, and they decided they would have to categorize their fund balances. The government standards board sets out the main policy, and then the accounting standards set under those. And so the county has a policy, a financial policy, that how they use those fund balances. But I just thought 27 million in a fund balance was a lot. I'm not sure what it's all sitting there for. I don't know about their $900,000 piece of road equipment. So I don't know how that was paid for.
I'd just like to jump in really quick to defend our poor line commissioners. That was kind of sarcastic. I just so happens that the last commissioner meeting that I happened to listen in on, they did review they were approving something, and they were reviewing a couple of different bids.
Right.
I don't remember what it was for, and I don't know when they were presented with those bids, but at least there were a couple of options, so.
Well, and I'll just talk real quick. So to Jamie's point and the fund balance, so the county operates on a cash basis. So yes, you have to have some money there because they have to have money to start the budget year before the property taxes and some of those things come in, right? So that's part of it, but I agree, the amount seems excessive. And what are we not getting done today that's going to cost us more in 5 years or 10 years because we're holding that money in these fund balances? And so, you know, if it's 5 million, 10 million, you know, that's a lot of money that could be being utilized now, getting things done. And there might be reasons to say, but absolutely, and it's never bad to have, you know, some kind of a safety net. But there's rules and regulations for that as well. And so, yes, so it's going to be very interesting to see all of the details and why that's sitting there. You know, I have a lot of personal anecdotes for what I've been through, and like I said, right now I feel like we don't have a leader at the helm, and the people that are trying to do the job are doing the best they can, but we're all left without the professional and the information that we need as a county to operate in the best way possible.
So as somebody who sat through several budget sessions with this clerk, to quote her, she has a philosophy. She says she is a conservative, and therefore she does something that the other previous clerks that I've watched going back to the 70s does not. All of the other clerks took the leftover fund accounts and plugged it into the wish lists for all of the departments, and then taxed the taxpayers the remainder to come up with the balance of the expenditures. And this clerk takes our tax dollars and taxes us the maximum amount she can for each account, and then puts the leftover fund balances that were there to fill in. So it's completely backwards how all of the other clerks did it, but also she sweeps this what's left over of the fund balances and puts it in what I refer to as savings accounts. Now, if the commissioners held meetings around the county like they used to and told all of us what was going on and what was needed with the county, and therefore we need to save some money, then we all agreed to do those kinds of things for big items or goals planning. They don't do that anymore. The clerk takes all the money and puts it in these savings accounts for who knows what, but it's our tax dollars. She is taxing us at the absolute highest she possibly can, and the commissioners cannot stop her from doing it that way because she writes the budget. So there is the problem from watching where I sit in the meetings.
So I'll just say, ultimately though, the commissioners, it's their vote to approve, it's their decision on these matters.
True.
They are hamstringed by not having the information they need, and especially in a timely manner. But even if that scenario were to continue, I would say it's up to the commissioners to make it change. You know what I mean? It has to, they have to, and you alluded to it earlier, they can't necessarily force another elected official to do anything that's not required by statute. But there's no reason they can't also, go around if they had to each department and ask for their budget stuff ahead of time.
Well, I've literally watched them schedule extra meetings, and she will not hand out any information when they show up to those meetings. She withholds the information. So they, and by statute, they have to vote on it by a certain day, and she holds it hostage. So just know that if you're in the chair, I sound like this. If you're going to do the same thing, I say this to her and her face all the time. Right, Pam?
Yes, she does, and I respect her for it.
Okay, any more questions? You guys have any comments for us?
I want to say something.
Okay, good.
It's nothing to do with problems or anything. On the back of the table back there, there's a stack of cards that are labeled emergency contact information cards. They're cards that are magnet on the back. They used to give them out a long time ago through the ambulances and that, but they kind of stopped. So I actually had some made up, and so they just say who your next of kin is, who your doctor is. Have you done your personal papers, yes or no? And then on the very bottom, it has one that says, have you updated your driver's license? Last year, the coroners and the sheriff went and got legislation passed, and we can now have next of kin notification on driver's licenses. So it allows the sheriff, the coroner, to be able to contact the audience. It doesn't cost anything to do it. You can do it online. You go down to TV and have it added. It's just a good thing to have out there for an emergency person. So if you guys want the cards back, if you want to take it extra for family members or whatever, take what you want. They're free. Have nothing to do with running else.
Can we just put your number on it for emergencies?
No.
Really big emergency.
So everyone's brought literature, so please help yourself. Again, with literature, and I so appreciate that you take the time out of your busy schedule and come to visit with a few of us. We really do appreciate your time, and the audience, thank you for coming, and we're all a little more informed on the complicated county functions that we you guys are jumping into, so I applaud you for taking a turn. Good luck to everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.